Hi folks, Adam Andrews here. I'm the director of CenterForLit and a homeschooling father of 6. My wife Missy and I founded CenterForLit back in 2003 when a dear friend approached us and asked for help with the subjects of reading comprehension and literary analysis. I wonder if you could give me some tools, she asked, to teach those subjects in my own home, in my own classroom. I don't want you to step in and teach for me. Instead, I want to be able to do it myself, but I lack some of the confidence. I lack some of the tools that I think I'll need. And our hearts really went out to her and to some of the other friends in our little homeschool co-op who didn't have a literary education when it was their turn, but who wanted to pass that on to their students anyway. So my wife Missy looked at her treasure trove of picture books and started thinking, I wonder if there's a way I can use these accessible, easy, short stories to fill in the gaps of a literary education for some of my friends. In other words, I wonder if the lessons that I can teach from these picture books can give my friends the tools to explore books at all levels of the curriculum with their own students. And the result of her questioning and thinking about this process was Teaching the Classics, which is a teacher training seminar that we put together that uses picture books, bedtime stories, as the bedrock foundation of a method for teaching books at any level of the curriculum. Teaching the Classics is based on 3 ideas. First of all, the idea that all stories share common elements. What this means is that every story in the world, whether it be a picture book or a play by Shakespeare or the movie you saw last weekend, is built of more or less the same components. Things like conflict and plot, rising action and climax, setting and characters. And that all these components are put together in more or less the same way in every story. That is to say, that every story has pretty much the same shape. The second idea is that if you can recognize this shape, you can interpret any story in the world. And so, an easy story, a children's story, a bedtime story, a short story, is probably the best place to start, learning how to recognize the parts of a story and how they fit together. This makes teaching literature much more accessible to the teacher as well as the student, because we can begin with stories that aren't intimidating to anyone. The third element of the Teaching the Classics approach is the idea that the Socratic method is the best way to conduct a literature class or a reading class at any level. And by Socratic method, we simply mean teaching by asking questions rather than by standing up at the front of the room as a lecturer and giving answers. This approach puts the teacher right next to the student, arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder, and makes her a co-learner with that student. Takes a lot of the pressure off of teachers, especially if they're having a problem with confidence, if they don't believe that they have the necessary training to be good teachers. So the combination of these 3 ideas, common elements in every story, the use of children's stories to present these elements, and the Socratic method as a way to conduct a class, make the Teaching the Classics approach a really powerful tool for getting students involved in literature while at the same time learning to read literature yourself. The seminar that we put together for our dear friends in our neighborhood back in 2003 was very successful with that little small group of homeschool parents. We put it on DVD and began distributing it around the country and indeed around the world, and it's helped so many parents since then learn those same techniques. One of the things I'm happiest about when I think of Teaching the Classics and the way that it's spread around the country and around the world is that it gives Missy and me the chance to identify with parents and teachers in that very place where they live on a day-to-day basis, in the trenches of homeschooling and teaching this critical, difficult subject to their students. First and foremost, Missy and I are homeschool parents ourselves. And we love our kids and we invest ourselves in them, and we struggle on a day-to-day basis with the same kinds of anxieties and the same kinds of worries that all parents do. Now, when it comes to this subject, reading comprehension and literary analysis, we think there's a lot riding on it. And we identify with parents who think there's a lot riding on it too. And we look at how important it is to be able to handle ideas and to be able to think deeply about what they read, and we look out into the world and say, if our kids can't do that, they're going to be at a disadvantage. If they can do that, they're going to be at an advantage. They're going to be able to handle themselves. They're going to be able to exert influence in the world that they come to live in. So we think there's a lot at stake in this literary education that we're trying to give our kids, and we see nothing but our own insecurities and our own inadequacies and the ways that we fall short as teachers. We believe that the proper tools and a little encouragement can be a real help in this process. And we have it close to our hearts to help moms and dads, help teachers in that process of learning who they are, being comfortable with their own limitations, and giving their kids a literary education anyway. Because it's really true, we believe, that moms and dads, parents in the trenches with their kids, are in exactly the right place. That they are the perfect teachers for their kids, regardless of their training, regardless of their experience, regardless of how much they know about Shakespeare or Dostoevsky or Dickens. The fact that they care about those kids, the fact that they love them, the fact that they are concerned with that long-term ability of their kids to handle ideas and work gracefully in the world of ideas, that makes them the best teachers there are. That makes them the best possible teachers for their kids. So what we want to do is just provide a couple of tools that make that literary education easier, make it more accessible for parents at every level of education and experience. So if you're a parent or teacher like Missy and me, and you look out at that class and you say, oh my goodness, the stakes are so high. I love you kids. I want you guys to succeed, but I'm not sure that I have the tools to get you there. I hope you'll come by CenterForLit.com and check out the tools that we have provided. They come from the same place in our hearts as that desire does in yours. We want our kids to be successful, and we want to have the classroom experience be an effective tool to getting them to a place where they can handle ideas with grace and eloquence and power. And we want to encourage you that you're exactly the right person for this job. You can come by our website at www.centerforlit.com and see the resources that we have available, all directed at a particular end, to make the Socratic discussion of literature easy and accessible for you, the parent and teacher, and eventually for your kids as well. I hope you'll come by and see us, and until then, happy reading, everyone.